Next poem is from Where Skulls Speak Wind, The Night We Were Gods, page 63. They hung by thread just above our heads in the entryway, 5 hummingbirds of clear red glass covered with glitter. Absent-mindedly, we brushed them with the tips of our forefingers, rubbed our eyelids, and smeared them with galaxies of tiny stars. For several hours, till we showered, and never even noticing, we blessed everything we touched with crushed light. Next poem is from Stark Beauty, page 74, Texas Mountain Laurel. In early spring, for a distance of several feet, it wafts the aroma of the thick, sweet juice of grapes. Its branches creak and sway, laden with the cascading clusters of blooms, teeming with bees like monks in amber robes, intoxicated with contemplation, humming their chants, wrapped in fragrant monasteries of lavender. I'm sure you have Texas mountain laurels here in Austin. We have them in Houston, but they're indigenous to the high desert country, and those blooms are just wonderful to take a sniff of, but be careful for bees. We'll end up in a nostril. The next poem is on page 89, Procession. This is from a book of poems triggered by the outlaw biker culture titled The Fraternity of Oblivion. Procession. They ride in solemn pairs in the dazzle of bright sunlight. Sweat stings black sunglassed eyes, trickles through thick beards, and beads in the cracks of tattooed skulls. They ride behind the black hearse of their leader. Beneath lean, black-clad buttocks, the big bikes rumble like a procession of dark bull fiddles, sobbing in the clutches of their prodigies. Next poem, page 103. This is from my book that was in the TCU Press Texas Poets Laureate series. French Quarter. Below sea level, in night fog thick as chicken and sausage gumbo, it looms. This whole place a brick and concrete grave, adorned with Spanish and French iron. A grisly Easter basket, wrapped in alternating bands of green, gold, and purple cellophane, under which flicker the lights, the ghastly lights of gas lamps and neon, every hue of the rainbow, illumining the ghostly faces of Voodooienne Marie Laveau, and the San Luis Cathedral, sticking its spires into night sky like pins in a doll of voodoo. Voodoo, whose rhythmic chants gave birth to jazz in this glittering city of sin and Lent, forever gently nudged by the giant python of the Mississippi, triumphant, tumescent, and shining from its meal of mice and men. Next poem, page 111. This is from a collection titled The Skin of Life. Pardon me. As if. The dusk reddens, its chafed flesh pulsing above the tightened noose of darkness. The icy wind rips at the breasts and wings of grackles, mad for the flutes of their hollow bones. It's chill, near freezing, as they spiral down from the sky by the thousands to roost. Will drop to single digits by midnight. Though hundreds of them, exposed for hours to sleet and bitter cold, will die well before sunrise. Each, for all its worth, clutches its twig and ruffles its blue-black feathers, as if it will make it, as if it knows the as if is all it's ever had to stagger it to daybreak. Austin must have grackles. I think that's one of the most universal, surely, I've heard. The next poem is from A Murder of Crows on page 133. Caged crow. For exercise, he stretches his wings to their limits and flaps them wildly several times each day. His keeper found him lifeless on the ground, stunned unconscious by a too close bolt of lightning, wrapped him in a black towel, and laid him in the bottom of a vacant parrot cage. When Crow came to, he blinked, rose shakily to his feet, and in due time scaled the cage mesh to the perch. Weeks later, fat with natural food, he watched his keeper open the cage door and back slowly away. Crow never even tried to leave, satisfied with his daily exercise, exultant in his blue-black heaven of stench, call, lore, and sheen. The next poem is on page 152, The Folding Wings. It's from my collection entitled Uncle Ernest. In fathoms of asylum calm, Ernest stirs awake, yawning at midnight. His eyes catch what light there is, swathe it with warm lids, and let it dance in white galleries of consciousness. He sees himself stooped with a hose of running water, flooding the bird baths and blooming gardens of his brain, and he yawns again in his dark little room, its walls the folding wings of owls dreaming. The next poem and the last I'll read from previously published books is page 163, and this is from The Lobsterman's Dream, Poems of the Coast of Maine. Mainers, for the Atlantic, for hundreds of years, they've penned and sung their hymns. Its bounty feeds their young, fattening them out for prosperity or icy blue slaughter. Even their eyes are hued with its blues and blackish greens. This hallowed brine, which in the same breath it nurtures them, lobs the flowered wreaths for their dead. I grew up in West Texas. Spent a lot of time in the Davis Mountains as a youngster. We lived in Midland, so if you wanted any scenery at all, you would head to the Davis Mountains. And when I first visited the coast of Maine, Monhegan Island in particular, Back in the mid-'80s, I absolutely fell in love with the place. The juxtaposition of beauty and violence was overwhelming. The rocky coast, seaward side of the eastern coast of Maine, Monhegan Island has the highest and steepest granite cliffs on the Maine seaboard, over 100 feet in height, and the water is incredibly deep right off the coast, so that produces huge swells which crash into the granite during a storm and bestow one certainly with a sense of awe, if not sheer terror. How am I on time? I'm going to read a few poems. There are 40 new poems in this book that's available that have not appeared previously in book form. So I would like to read a few of those, then I'll close. Page 12, Gecko. This has absolutely nothing with the Gecko, I would like to say. The silence of intractable shadow beguiles you. The pupils of your bulbous eyes are vertical ellipses. The adhesive discs of your toes allow you to scale glass without the slightest slip. You inhabit the dark interiors of our lives, traversing enclosed drawers, in the cases of compact discs, navigating the thunder of Beethoven, the ink-black reaches of Scriabin. Light burns you like acid. Any East Texans here? Compared to Alpine, Austin is East Texas. It's really not central. But I'd like to read Bobcat. Page 13. Deep in deep East Texas, after the pines have flung their shadows across the road like holy water, searing the flesh of a child possessed of the devil. After day dies and the moon's a ghoul, easing up the trees like luminous blight. After even the crows yield their calling to a storm-tossed sea of fear and terror, and after all sound is snuffed save the muted pulse of animals, only then will he rustle on the dead leaf bed under the thicket, flex paws silent as moon glow, soft as clouds, and set them one ever so imperceptibly before another, taking his place in the night. Any cat lovers in here? Now, two. Like closet poets. Any poets in the room? Page 18, munificence. The goat herd muses. Their udders house miracles of milk, butter, and cheese. Their dung is my fuel. Their flesh, my seldom meat. Their skins clothe me. With their bones, I make my simple tools. Their horns are spoons, symbols of plenty. The walls of their bowels, sliced thinly into strips, serve as sutures, string, cellos, violins. Time for a couple more. I want to make sure I don't go over my allotted time here. Page 23, Dark Horse. The night is so black, it breathes. I feel your presence, but can't see you. I extend my arm into the darkness. Our fingertips meet. I grasp your hand and pull you to the back of the black beast I have straddled bareback. You lock your arms around my waist and lean your head into the wind. We are indistinct from the black night we ride into, the black night ravishing with us and the beast. We feel the bass drum heart of the beast, beating with the pulse of each of us, 3 hearts beating with a single pulse, beating to the rhythm of a numinous song, the song of you, me, and the beast, quaking the black night with beautiful thunder. I'm going to close with Jewel, page 24. I would like to dedicate the reading of this poem to any of you who may have overcome a cancer or who may fall victim to cancer in the future. Jewel. When she lost her hair to chemo, she scarfed her head with black cloth, peppered with skulls, and joked that she was Jean Lafitte's last surviving relative. During the radiotherapy which followed, she mused the sun rising inside the dark, miraculous cells of her body, willing the cancerous ones to thin out and perish like clouds in the wide blue sky of remission. It's been 20 years since the young doctor clasped her hands and, in a soft, slightly breaking voice, diagnosed her cancer as terminal. Nightly, after spending another day as a volunteer at the hospice, she pours herself a glass of wine, eases her 80-year-old body gently onto the curved, dependable slats of her rocker, and fondles the dying day's minutes like diamonds in a jeweler's cloth. Thank you very much.